And those are excerpts from Parliament, where the committee probing the leaked IGP tape have been ongoing there, and we saw excerpts of the tape being played there. But following up, lawyers for COP Alex Mensah demand exclusion of 2 committee members, citing prejudicial comments, and more on this later. Return Cecilia Dapa's property to her within 7 days. We can't confirm freezing of her accounts, court tells Office of Special Prosecutor. We have details from today's court proceedings. Be mindful of economic conditions in fixing conditions of service for members of the Article 71 office holders. That's President Akufo-Addo to a newly constituted Emolument Committee.
Whether or not, notwithstanding the constitutional imperatives, we are deserving of what is being paid to us in view of the challenges currently confronting our national economy.
Lawyer for aggrieved defunct Menzgold customers welcome decision by the Attorney General to prosecute Nana Apia Mensah, also known as Nam1, at the High Court on 39 new charges, but he's skeptical. More as the embattled former CEO Mensgold says he is ready to defend himself in court, insisting lack of understanding of his business model could be blamed for the perception that has set out to scam his customers. In world news, more than 70 dead in South Africa's blaze. We have updates and also take a look at our fire safety situation here in the country, particularly in the capital city in the wake of the Johannesburg incident. Details of these and more, including business and sports, shortly. Stay tuned. Well, let's move back to Parliament. Lawyers for Commissioner of Police Alexander Mensah are demanding the exclusion of 2 members from Parliament's committee investigating the alleged leaked tape plotting the removal of IGP Akufo-Addo. They're citing possible bias as a result of their prejudicial comments in the media since the issue came up in the public domain. COP Alex Mensah and 2 other officers, Superintendent Eric Emmanuel JP and Superintendent George Osari, are currently before the committee, and my colleague Samuel Mbura is in Parliament monitoring proceedings and joins us with details. Mbura, what are or who are the committee members and what are the specific reasons being cited by the lawyers for the exclusion?
The lawyers for COP Alexander Mensah first raised objections that their client was not given the benefit to listen to a tape before facing the committee. They also indicated that they'd be flying blind on the issue because the terms and reference of the committee were not in prior notice, arguing that these terms and references could have been used as a foundation for an objection. Again, the invitation extended to their client by the committee indicated that the tape captured a senior officer and they were to come and examine it and not question it. But the chairman of the committee overruled the objection and indicated that the engagement was a civil one, whilst explaining that their client has not been charged. But the lead lawyer, Mr. Owusu-Boateng, further raised the objection for the exclusion of the 2 members. And these 2 members are Mr. James Agaga, MP for Busa South, who is the vice chairman of the committee, and then Peter Lantana Tobu, MP for Wa West, a member of the committee. He referred to a news report from Ghana West, which has been attributed to the Wa West MP, Peter Tobu, that they deemed prejudicial. They claim to use words like hellfire or fall on the officers captured in the tape. On the part of Agaga, reference was made to a newspaper, the Ghanaian Standard, which they claim the vice chairman reportedly said the matter passes for treason. For these reasons, his entrenched position on the matter can influence his report about their client.
Well, Mbura, before we came from Parliament, the leaked tape, alleged leaked tape was playing. Have there been any responses from them, the police officers being questioned?
We've not had the responses from the police officers yet, but the chairman of the committee gave the opportunity to his members to respond to the allegations of prejudicial comments. Mr. Tobu said that he was hearing the words for the first time, and in the advent of social media, they are doubtful, and he couldn't imagine dreaming in his sleep to use words like hellfire on the officers captured in the tape. So he flatly denied it. On the part of Agaga, he does not know about the statement attributed to him, by the Standard newspaper. He, however, said that the matter came before Parliament, which he contributed by canvassing for a probe into the matter. He admitted using the word treason, but it was in context. He insists that his position has been consistent, and he doesn't see how prejudicial his comments have been. He said the attempt to reconstitute the committee was unacceptable, referring to the lawyers of COP Alex Mensah.
So what's the situation now as we speak?
So the chairman assures that there will be justice after listening to the evidence and crave the indulgence of the lawyers to trust Parliament on the fact-finding mission and overrule the objection. So he has given the go-ahead for the tape to be played, and the tape is currently being heard by the three key witnesses, whom you mentioned their names earlier. Mr. Eric, he's a Superintendent Eric Emmanuel Jebi. He is actually a director at the Criminal Investigations Department of the Ghana Police Service, from the Forensic Unit of the Ghana Police Service. COP Alex Mensah is already on leave pending retirement, and the Superintendent George Asari is also with the protocol of the Ghana Police Service at the headquarters, I'm told.
Thank you very much, Samuel Imbura. We'll be coming to you for updates on that particular hearing. Now, return Cecilia Dapa's property to her within 7 days. We cannot confirm the freezing of her account. These are the orders of the Financial and Economic Court Division of an Accra High Court to the Office of the Special Prosecutor. According to the court, the OSP's act to seize the property in the matrimonial home of Ms. Dapa and freeze her accounts was based on mere speculation and reaction to public sentiments and without legal basis. Richard Kojonyako was in court and joins us with details. Richard, give us details of the rulings of the court. Fortunately, we do not have Richard on the line, but we'll get him back to him to give us details of the court proceedings on that matter. Well, President Akufo-Addo charged the newly constituted Emolument Committee to be mindful of the prevailing economic conditions in the country in making recommendations on the salaries, allowances, facilities, and privileges payable to Article 71 office holders. The committee, chaired by the immediate past chairperson of the Public Services Commission, Dr. Janet Fofie, is to make recommendations in respect of emoluments and other privileges as specified under the Constitution and examine any other relevant matters which the committee will deem appropriate to its work. President Akufo-Addo wants the committee to be mindful of the state of the Ghanaian economy in their recommendations. But before we hear from the president, let's go back to the courts where Richard Kojonyako is to give us updates of the court proceedings. Richard, what can you report?
Well, so the OSP was in court virtually, and Madam Cecilia Dapa and her lawyers were also in court virtually. So the OSP case to the court was that it had conducted a search in Madam Cecilia Dapa's matrimonial home and discovered an amount of $590,000 and 2.7 million Ghana cedis. The OSP suspected that the property was cheated property, and based on that, went ahead to freeze the said property. The OSP also found an undisclosed amount of transactions in the two accounts of the former minister. The accounts were today named Societe Generale and Prudential Bank. The OSP said it suspected that the property in the accounts was tainted, and as they were investigating her for corruption and corruption-related acts, they went ahead to freeze it. The OSP made a point that the fact remains that the sources of the money remain doubtful, and thus went ahead to issue its freezing order. And so, per the act that established the OSP, when an asset has been seized and frozen by the OSP, the Office of the Special Prosecutor needs to confirm at the High Court within a period of 7 days. Now, the case of Madam Cecilia Dapa, so Madam Cecilia Dapa opposed the application. There was a contention that the OSP had breached its own law by not confirming such a seizure and freezing of her account within the mandatory 7 days set by its own enabling legislation. And if the court goes ahead to confirm and endorse the act of the OSP, it may be giving its blessing to illegality, and that will mean the court will be condoning lawlessness. She said the conditions precedent for the OSP to seize and freeze her account were not met before the OSP acted, and that the Office of the Special Prosecutor has failed to properly invoke the jurisdiction of the court. So to Madam Cecilia Dapa, the property she had acquired were acquired long before she came into public office, and she's not engaged in any corruption or corruption-related activities. Now let's look at what the court based on to give its ruling. So it set down 4 main issues for determination in its ruling. The first was the capacity of the one who authorized the affidavit, and was established that it was not the OSP himself who authorized it, but it was done by someone who was authorized to do so. And so the presumption of regularity had been satisfied, and that the objection raised by Madam Cecilia on the capacity was held to be far-fetched and without any legal justification. The second issue the court looked at was whether the condition precedent for the seizure of the property was met. The court said the OSP acted in excess of jurisdiction. The OSP failed to confirm the seizure within 7 days, and the court cannot purport to do something illegal. So the court said they were mandated by the law to uphold the law and not condone duty. And secondly, the OSP did not meet the conditions set out in its own act that gives him the power to seize the property, and that the OSP, the property the OSP has described variously as tainted property. The court said the former minister had demonstrated that he was not concealing any property because the property the OSP found in her home could have been concealed during the subsistence of the criminal case, but the respondent did not do so, and that the OSP failed to justify any reasonable suspicion of the property being tainted. To the court, what the OSP has done is to interfere with the enjoyment of the property of Madam Cecilia, and that's in breach of the 1992 Constitution. And on the final issue, the court set down the freezing of the property of the former minister while an ongoing investigation, which outcome is yet to be known, is not rooted in law. That's according to the court. And that the OSP acted on mere speculation, was reactionary to public sentiment, and acted without any legal authority. The court thus ordered the OSP to unfreeze the account of Madam Cecilia and return the property she discovered in her matrimonial home to her within the period of 7 days. And Manusi, it's interesting that this court was held virtually, and I could see Madam Cecilia and her lawyers all join in, and the Office of the Special Prosecutor, the lawyers, they are also joining in to listen to the ruling.
But were there any reactions from Madam Cecilia and her lawyers?
Well, so because it was a virtual one, you could see Madam Cecilia, but you could not see clearly whether she was smiling or she was frowning or she was behaving in any other way. Either can you also see the OSP also acting, maybe smiling or disappointed in the decision by the High Court. And so because it was done virtually, we could not really clearly state that in fact one was smiling or one was disappointed in the ruling of the court.
Grateful for your time here, Richard Kojonyako, our court correspondent. Well, back to the Emolument Committee, newly set by the President. President Akufo-Addo wants the committee to be mindful of the state of the Ghanaian economy in their recommendations.
I must indicate that in recent times, a lot of public discourse surrounding the remuneration of public officers has centered primarily on those of Article 71 office holders. And whether or not, notwithstanding the constitutional imperatives, we are deserving of what is being paid to us in view of the challenges currently confronting our national economy. It might well be that your work should also focus on these concerns and make recommendations on how they should be addressed. The task ahead of you is a challenging one, and it is my expectation and hope that you'll be up to it and deliver your report expeditiously. You have my full support to undertake this assignment, and I assure you of government's assistance if needed throughout the period of your work.
The 5-member committee also includes former Minister for Planning, Professor Jan Boafo, and Chief Executive Officer of the Fair Wages Commission, Ben Arthur. Chairperson Dr. Janet Fofie is hopeful the committee recommendations will be fair to all sectors.
Your Excellency, as a retired Article 71 office holder myself, I'm keenly aware of the significance of this committee. I'm also aware of the sometimes very heated debates in our national conversations over the years on this matter. It is my hope that the committee will get valuable insights, views, inputs, and support from all stakeholders to enable us deliver a comprehensive and timely report to His Excellency for your consideration and approval.
The cries of 16,000 customers of defunct gold dealership Menzgold could soon be answered as the Attorney General files a total of 39 charges against Nana Mensah, also known as Nam1, and 2 others. Arrested 5 years ago and over 36 adjournments at the Circuit Court, the fresh charges automatically render the pending criminal case at the lower court against the first accused person, Nana Mensah, moot. The new charges include selling gold contrary to the Minerals and Mining Act, operating a deposit-taking business without a license, defrauding by false pretense, money laundering, and others. Lawyer for the aggrieved customers, Amanda Clinton, says her clients are only interested in justice and the recovery of their funds.
Attorney General Dame has recently announced that he's going to be moving the case from the Circuit Court, where they filed that essentially the case has voluntarily been ended, and then he simultaneously filed at the High Court. In terms of what he's filed, it's pretty much the same charges in terms of, it's the same charges he was previously charged with, but less. In terms of 61 counts have now become 39 counts. And it's the more serious charges. So I would imagine that they've done this so that they could make those charges stick. You know, instead of going after 61 counts, you stick with the ones that you can really get a hold of in terms of you can hold him account to, which includes defrauding by false pretenses, 25 counts, 7 counts of fraudulent breach of trust, and 7 counts of money laundering. So quite importantly, in terms of bail conditions, this is going to have to be revisited because essentially the case has died a natural death in the Circuit Court and it's been moved to the High Court. In so doing, the new judge at the High Court is going to be considering new things because it's a fresh matter before her. And it has been moved to the High Court. Ordinarily, you see cases moved to the High Court because of the complexity of the case, because of the potential for securing a more severe conviction, and for the need for a higher level of expertise.
She's also questioning why the Attorney General did not include the wife and sister of Nana Mensah in the fresh charges.
What's interesting is I noticed that Ghana Web has said that they've had sight of the charge, the new charge sheet, which I haven't had sight of it yet. But you know, it will also be interesting to see if the other accomplices are on that charge sheet. Or have a similar charge sheet with it, and that includes his sister Benedicta Pierre and his wife Rose Tete, which both are at large at present, and you know, they were similarly charged with him, although far less charges. So it is encouraging from the Attorney General's Department, particularly because the concern was that Mr. Mensah had been emboldened due to the delay in the prosecution. You know, 5 years later, 36 adjournments, and, you know, the people were like, you know, is he being so bold? Because they really aren't prosecuting him. And so, you know, the media doing their job, the people, you know, the investors being in uproar, has hopefully led to the government revisiting this.
A private legal practitioner, Martin Paper, is also questioning government's commitment to the matter.
Very critical of this prosecution. We want results. We've been too tardy. The Attorney General hasn't shown enough commitment to this case compared to the Advocacy. I mean, that's it. So for me, the Advocacy is the yardstick. Anything that's short of the energy and the vigor with which he's interested in the Advocacy, means that this case is not really committed. Yeah, this one, how many years? Can you imagine? The time we brought Nam1 back from Dubai, was that in 2020 or so? Yeah. And then 36 adjournments. then we are still adjourning. The money laundering thing, assuming the circuit court, if you have been convicted, like I made the point before, of the other charges, and then money laundering left, well, that's nothing. Because a lot of the offenses, what happens, even though you send 39 charges, most of the time, once he's been convicted, when it comes to sentencing, you hear that the sentences are to be served concurrently.
Right.
So count one, assuming count one has a minimum of 15 years. Okay? Right. So if you have 39 charges and even you win 15, my brother, it's not bad, because the main thing is that at least justice would have been served. He will serve some. So it's not the number of charges that impresses me, but it's the speed with which the prosecution is being handled. And also we should have more clarity, more information on the exhibit account, the assets that were seized from him, and some of them auctioned. Can we get more information? Because that's really where the need is. Because I'm looking at it that for most of these customers, it's their money they want back. I don't think they care so much about imprisonment.
Well, the case is currently in the High Court, and we'll be bringing you updates on that later in subsequent bulletins. Reacting to the latest development on X Spaces, Nana Apia Mensah says he looks forward to this day in court, insisting lack of understanding of his business model could be blamed for the perception that he set out to scam his customers.
In a court, because the state prosecution is doing a very good job. They want to. I see fair play. Because everything that I know, that based on what the rights that as affirmed and as conferred by the laws of the Republic, I don't think any of my rights have been trampled upon. I think they are putting Article 19E, they are applying it into its fullest, as in the presumption of innocence. Once they be, I'm subject to the state. So even if I'm going to go 1,000 times, that's fine, because I'm subject to the state, and whatever the state so decides, of course, in line with rule of law, I would subject myself anytime, any day. So the issue about being called a fraudster and what have you, a bothersome perspective. So granted, the Menzgold business model, a lot of people didn't have proper understanding because it's technical. Okay, it's very technical. So when I say to you that, okay, so you buy gold is measured, it's measured in grams, ounces, kilograms, and then what have you. So it's technical, right? So a lot of people don't even get it. They don't even understand. And
Special Advisor to the President in the Accra Initiative, Major General Francis Iduamanfo, retired, has emphasized the importance of active participation of women, particularly mothers, in countering violent extremism in West Africa. He indicated that their significant influence plays a pivotal role in deterring the youth from joining extremist groups. He is speaking at an advocacy workshop by Partners West Africa, Senegal, on the role of women in preventing violent extremism in West Africa. There's more on this report.
The increasing threat of violent extremism in West African nations is a significant concern that demands substantial attention and commitment at both regional and national levels. While the role of youth and women in terrorism and violent extremism are often underestimated, they have been recognized as crucial elements in countering this issue in West Africa. Speaking at a workshop organized by Partners West Africa, Major General Francis Iduamanfo, retired, emphasized the importance of greater involvement of women in efforts to combat violent extremism in the region.
Recently, it has dawned on us in security, that our women can play a more critical role in combating or preventing violent extremism. And the offshoot of violent extremism is terrorism. The related, crime of transnational organized crime. Women are the mothers of the youth or the young people who are poached, who are recruited, who are coerced by extremists to perpetrate the violence and the crimes of terrorism. We cannot leave women out of the equation, So in all strategies, every strategy we will devise, we need to get our mothers, our women involved.
Commandant for Kofi Annan Peacekeeping Training Center, Major General Richard Addo, added that the workshop will support national efforts to address violent extremism, particularly in Ghana.
And to do this, society needs a mind shift from negotiators and mediators to view women's participation in these efforts as sine qua non for success. It is only by doing so that we will have completed the peace equation and ensured a future built on a fuller understanding of the value of peace as against the destructive consequences of conflict. The workshop offers a unique opportunity to key actors at the national and regional level to share their experiences and strategies in addressing issues of women, youth, and violent extremism.
Lack of traffic signals on many roads in Ghana poses danger to commuters. Power cuts also render traffic signals unusable, resulting in accidents. But there's good news as students of the Sunyani Technical University have come up with a less costly solar-powered portable traffic light, which can easily be moved to affected areas. Love FM's Chrissy Debra speaks with the developer Esther Abane for Tech Thursday.
Traffic signal mounted on rollers is light enough to be carried around by one person whenever the need arises.
So this is a portable solar-based traffic system that we use. It is a movable one as well. So we use it when there is lights out or when there is malfunction in the traffic lights outside. We use it so that instead of having a police or an instructor to direct people where to pass, you put it there and then it will be telling us where to pass. And then the advantage of this over the others is that when there is no light, we can use this because it uses solar. It takes energy from the sun and converts it into electricity to power it. And then we have a battery that is embedded inside too. So once it's taking the electricity, it's also charging the battery as well for us. So in case maybe it's a rainy day and then there is no sun for the solar panels to work, we have an alternative down here that works for it.
Reporting for JoyNews, Chrissy Debra.
You're watching JoyNews Today. We'll be right back after this break.
Hi, welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. The Ministry of Energy says the country requires in excess of $500 billion US dollars to achieve the country's energy transition plan. The president is expected to launch the plan at the sidelines of the COP28 of the UN General Assembly in November this year. Speaking at the 12th Sustainable Education and Development Conference at the University of Environment and Sustainable Development, Deputy Minister for Energy Herbert Krapper indicated that the country is committed to achieving 10% modern renewable energy installed capacity in the national energy mix by 2030. Yes, more.
According to the Ministry of Energy, Ghana has discoveries of critical green minerals, including lithium and graphite, in significant quantities, and its extraction will be done sustainably while making efficient use of them through value addition to establish Ghana as a hub for electric vehicles and the production of battery technologies. Deputy Minister of Energy Herbert Krapper says Ghana's Energy Ministry remains committed to exploring new energy frontiers to support the country on the path to sustainable, environmentally sound and gender responsive economic growth.
Need in excess of $500 billion United States dollars to achieve our energy transition plan, which His Excellency the President will launch first on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly next month. We believe in responsible exploration of our resources. We believe in low carbon intensity oil and gas production. We're working with the United Nations Sustainable Energy for All, turn our framework into an investor-friendly plan. Our decarbonization plan will increase the share of renewable energy in the power generation mix, and it requires greenhouse gas emitting industries to establish plantations to offset emissions. On energy access and security, we will expedite oil and gas exploration and production, fund the development of clean energy technologies, We will contribute and will continue to promote and encourage the use of LPG, reduce dependency on wood fuels, and on energy efficiency.
According to him, Ghana will continue in the pursuit of clean and affordable energy, and the academic institutions will play a pivotal part.
We will continue to promote the use of best-in-class energy appliances, energy efficiency in SMEs, the use of clean cook stoves. Target is to ensure 50% LPG penetration by 2030. Our cylinder recirculation model, with which everyone can exchange an empty cylinder with a filled new one, will ensure affordability and safety. Full-scale implementation of the energy transition plan reap social, economic, and environmental benefits for the Ghanaian people and impact the lives and livelihoods of women and youth in far-reaching ways. Thirds of indoor air pollution has been linked to wood fuels for cooking and domestic use. We know the health implications of this on our women and girls. That is why the Ministry of Energy is distributing clean cook stoves across the country, especially in rural communities. We have distributed 420,000 so far.
He pledged that the ministry will work closely with the academic institutions of higher learning for collaborative research, without which the path to net zero carbon emissions will be as unpredictable as weather patterns of today. Reporting for Joy News, Richard Kwejenyako.
Now, the Minister of Works and Housing, Francis Asenso-Boakye, has retweeted government's commitment to supporting the real estate sector to boost economic development. Speaking at the launch of the Chartered Institute of Realtors, the minister stated that an operational professional body of realtors will be critical to ensure the needed growth of the economy.
The establishment of the Chartered Institute of Realtors will offer opportunities for sharpening knowledge, skills, standards, and experiences of practitioners in the real estate industry to meet global standards. The professional body of realtors will serve as a prime institution for real estate education in Ghana and beyond. Speaking at the official launch of the group, Mr. Asenso-Boakye explained that there is the need for a certified body to enforce standards.
Clearly, the capacity of the real estate industry to contribute to the growth of the Ghanaian economy and to create jobs for the teeming youth of our country cannot be overemphasized. With the establishment of the Real Estate Agency Council by the Real Estate Agency Act 2020 Act 1047 to regulate the real estate agency sector in Ghana, and the coming into being of the Chartered Institute of Realtors, the real estate sector, with the support of the Ministry of Works and Housing, should see no boundaries in its quest to take its rightful place in the economic transformation of our country.
The Chief of Staff, Akufo-Addo Pare, called for deep stakeholder engagements to reduce the housing shortage and build a robust real estate industry.
And that's it for business. My name is Darryl Kwao. Sports is up next.
Let's do sports now on Joy News Today with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullahi, former chairman of the Ghana Football Association. Dr. Nyahonya Hotamaklo says George Afriyie is not qualified to be president of the football governing body. Speaking on Prime Take, he said since George Afriyie was vice president to Kwesi Nyantakyi before the number 12 expose, it doesn't qualify him to head the Ghana Football Association.
Well, George Afriyie has been there before.
As vice president, not the leader.
Look, you've flown before in an aircraft.
I have, many times.
Many times. In fact, some airlines that fly long routes, not just the co-pilot.
The longest flight I've had was 18 hours.
Yes, 18 hours is good. At times they have 2 pilots and a co-pilot. When you are not the captain, you are not the captain. You are the second in command. Anything that the captain will say, you have to listen, no matter how good you are. You follow me? So I believe strongly that he was a co-pilot during Kwesi time. And when he allowed certain things to take place, some of the blames they are putting on Kwesi now, some of the blames can be put on him for not coming out to talk about it. I think you follow me? So that in itself, to me, doesn't qualify him now. I won't say is disqualified for life. No, doesn't qualify him now to come to the scene at all.
Wow, that's quite an interesting one.
Yeah, it doesn't qualify to come to the scene. But I believe strongly if he rather teams up with the present leadership and they work in unison, it will be good for the country and for football in general.
But the claims are that the current leadership of the FA is not interested in bringing other members into the family. And in fact, one of the things people often use against the GFA president was the fact that he granted an interview and said that he will never work with his enemies. He will not win an election and bring his enemies to come and work. So some of the things people actually claim.
He said that.
Yes, he said it.
No, but you know, when you get to power newly, even in politics, you come out with all sort of statements.
In other words, he has learned?
You follow me?
Yes.
He has learned his lesson by now. And you see that in his, if it happens to get the next term, he do things differently.
And the president of the Ghana Football Association, Kurt Okreko, he says that the football governing body is putting the right structures in place to ensure that officiating in the upcoming Premier League season, expected to start on the weekend of September 9, is a success. That's your sports for now. We do have more sports stories on myjoyonline.com.
And that'll be all for Joy News today. You had entertainment, sports and business. There's more news on myjoyonline.com.